Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and I am back with another speed build. This build we are doing in the good old fan favorite Windenburg, and this is kind of the downtown area. I honestly do not know what the neighborhood is actually called because I never pay attention to that stuff. But it's kind of like the little town area where like all of the cafes are and whatnot. And obviously, a lot of these houses have like the Tudor kind of style. And so I kind of just stuck with that. But I did try to make each of the little houses because I kind of did in my head, I kind of imagine these houses to be more like row homes or like townhouses kind of vibes. Because I just envision that when I think of like old town in general. I feel like they have multiple buildings, whether they're businesses, homes, or whatnot. A lot of them are like connected because that's how a lot of cities and towns are. Is they have attached homes. So that's kind of the vibe that I was going for, and I wanted to stick obviously with the Tudor style, so that's what I kind of went for. I just looked up like different inspos of like old town Tudor homes and like Bavarian kind of style because in my head I envisioned Windenburg as like obviously a very like what's the word I'm looking for? German Dutch esque kind of vibes. And whatnot. So that's what I kind of stuck with, and I did want to make sure that I kept them fairly small and didn't go too big with them because that's another aspect that I think, especially in like older towns and stuff, is the houses typically in my mind are a bit smaller and whatnot. For this style, I wanted each of the homes to look like a little bit different. I didn't want them to be like all the same exact house, or at least look like that on the outside. So I tried to add in like different dimensions and stuff and like made them different sizes and different like heights and whatnot with it, just to give each home a little bit of their own little character. Like, each family kind of had their own idea and style and how the house they wanted to be built. The house on the right side, I initially kind of liked the idea of maybe making that into like a modern kind of style of the little old town Tudor home situations. But when I initially started looking into possibly doing that, at least on the outside, I just didn't think it would look good or like match the vibes. So I decided not to go completely modern with it. I did like add a few touches that I think make it look a little bit more modern than the other two homes. But for the most part, I try to keep it still within the style. So, especially when it comes to the outside of the builds, I mainly was just using base game and the pack get together. Um, but I will say, of all the builds that I've been doing recently, I normally have only been using one pack. I did not use one pack for this build. I was initially going into it wanting to just use one pack, but I just kind of wanted each of the homes to have a little bit more personality and like look very different from each other. So I did utilize mainly stuff packs and a few game packs, but I did use some of the kits too. So pretty much I just used a little bit of everything. There are, I think, plenty of packs and kits that I used um, in the game, but the main expansion pack that I used was Get Together. It did say when I uploaded the build that I apparently used Horse Ranch, and I think it said Get Together, but I honestly don't know what items it was because it didn't actually show anything. So I don't know if it maybe I accidentally used a wallpaper or flooring or something that was Horse Ranch or Get Together. I don't know, but it did say that I used some of that. So this is not a limited pack build by any means. I kind of just went into it initially wanting it to be limited, but I kind of just got too distracted and started just using whatever I wanted to use. So I will preface this build with that it does have a lot of packs and needs a lot of packs. if you did actually want this build. So, but aside from that, another thought that I had when I was building this, after I had already finished doing the outside, I thought this would be such a cool concept, especially since it's like in my head like an old town situation. If it had a business at like the bottom floor, because I feel like that is something that happens often with like little like towns and stuff like that. They have businesses at the bottom floor and then they live in the upper floors. I did think about redoing the build to include that, but I just didn't want to start all over from scratch. And then I didn't want these houses to be super big or super tall or anything like that. So I just decided against it because I didn't want, because I felt like if I did that, I would have to make it like a 3-story for everyone. But I only have the middle home as 3 floors, and even that is technically kind of more of like an attic kind of area because you have to use the ladder to get up there. So I just decided against it, but I think, especially if I build in this area of Wittenberg again, I think it would be really cool to build another style home like this with making sure that I include business at the bottom level. For this one, I did end up deciding instead of using regular stairs that I wanted to use platforms, so I went ahead and made the bottom floor have the tallest wall height so that the platforms wouldn't look crazy, or the not the platforms look crazy, but like that the house wouldn't have to be like, the house would still make sense and it would match the other floors and stuff like that at the end of the day. So I feel like I always like the idea of platforms, but I just always forget about them. And then sometimes it's just, not as convenient to use platforms. But I kind of figured it out very quickly on how to kind of get that to work. Because I never really used them because I find them a bit difficult. But for this first home on the left, I kind of was going for darker vibes. I kind of was just doing whatever. I envisioned this one to be like a little bit of an older home kind of vibe. So I used like the um older looking flooring and just kind of used more like wood aspects in this house because I just felt like, maybe some of the stuff was like handcrafted from the family when they first moved in, kind of. Obviously the countertops do look a little bit, industrialized, but maybe they kept some of the original pieces of the original countertops. But that's kind of the vibe that I was going for with this one, is just making it feel warm and, not like brand spanking new kind of vibes. Give it a little bit of an older feel and whatnot with it. I feel like I always struggle a little bit when it comes to doing different interiors and stuff sometimes, just because I'm not used to kind of utilizing different colors and stuff, and I always worry if it like is making any sense. But I think honestly I really liked how this downstairs area kind of ended up looking. I feel like this is like, I like this one. Honestly, I feel like the best out of all of the kind of living areas that I ended up doing. Obviously, too, the thing that makes this like a little bit more modern as well, I will say, is because it is kind of more of an open floor plan. I feel like if it was an older build, it would be a more closed off floor plan. But I just feel like it was a little bit more convenient for me, at least, to make it a bit open instead of adding extra unnecessary walls and whatnot. But I imagine like this house, you could either have where it's like parents and a teen, or maybe like two adults living together, or I don't know. You can honestly have it any way you would want. But I imagine like an older person living in that back room, and then in the front room is someone like more younger. But pretty much this is when I really did start using different packs, because I did start using some of the home decorator, renovator, whatever that pack is called. Um, I used a lot of the little bits and pieces from that pack in here. That bookcase is Book Nook. And I think I did end up still going with that bookcase. I did try the eco home, not eco, but the home decorator thing, but I still went back to the book nook. And for all of the bathrooms, I will say most of the bathrooms kind of just look the same and are very similar. I didn't really do anything too special with any of the bathrooms by any means. I just kept them pretty simple. I obviously tried to like give them slightly different characteristics, so they do kind of each have a little bit something different to them. So they're not all matchy matchy. But for the most part, I didn't like do anything crazy with any of the bathrooms, and they all kind of match and have similar vibes at least. So that's pretty much the main bits that I did in this house. Obviously, I do come back to this house just to add a bit more decorations and whatnot. I did try to do a little backsplash, but it just didn't look well or look right to me personally. And I tried to stick with like warmer colors as far as the wallpapers and paint and stuff that they have in this house. But I just feel like sometimes I just use the same colors over and over again because I don't like super, super dark colors in a room personally. I don't know. So I always try to stick with like lighter colors. And I will say for this next build in the middle, I used a lot of Parenthood. So I imagine this house to have like a young child and like just like a more family-esque home. I probably, looking back, would have maybe added another bed, or at least maybe made, because I ended up making one of the rooms into an office just because it was super small and I just didn't feel like it would be a good bedroom. So I ended up making it into like an office kind of vibes. But I think looking back, I would maybe make it into a very small bedroom. But as you can see here, I just threw in a little desk and then I threw in the little kids activity table as well. So you can have your kid kind of like do their thing while you're working and whatnot. And I don't think I used very many other packs in this build. I mean, I'm sure I did as far as like kits maybe add in a few bits and pieces as far as decorations, but like I said, I think I mainly was trying to initially use just like a couple of packs in each of the rooms and whatnot. So this one, at least initially, I mainly just used Parenthood, base game, and Get Together for the most part. And I kind of just, again, was going for like warmer colors, especially after I did the bathroom, or not the bathroom, the kitchen, because the kitchen is a very blue kitchen. So I figured just in general, especially with the outside of the houses, and then I used the warm darker wood flooring. I just felt like it would look best for that. In this downstairs area for that middle house, I really struggled with figuring out the layout for the living room. So I did end up going back and just kind of changing the structure of that house a little bit because I just really struggled with figuring out where to put the living room because the staircase was like in the middle of the house. And so it made it really hard to fit in a TV and a couch and everything. So I struggled with that one a little bit. And for this one, I was initially going into it, obviously, like I said, wanting it to be a little bit more modern, and I wanted it to be a little bit brighter than the other ones as well. So I used a lot of the Dream Home Decorator. There we go. I think that's the title of that pack. And then I also used a good bit of Tiny Living because I felt like they had a lot of like swatches that had a lot of the like lighter, brighter colors. I also used for the kitchen, I did the Home Chef kitchen, and I did utilize the frame TV from the Luxe kit. I can't think of what it's called and whatnot. The couch is from Book Nook. So this one I will say probably has the most variety of packs in it. And I did like the idea of possibly doing a island, but I felt like since the kitchen was like right in the front door that like it just wouldn't work out well. And then plus with doing that square island, it had a little bit of a gap in between the island bit and then the other counters, and so I just didn't like that. And then I figured, obviously, let's just go ahead and have like a little dining table too, since the middle house does not have a dining table. It just has like an island and some chairs and stuff. So that's what I did, at least initially with all of the builds. Like I said, I did go back and kind of change some things and add in some decorations and stuff. And right now, I went ahead and tried to do the landscaping before I was finished with the interior, for one, because I typically forget about the landscaping. And so then by the time it comes to the part that I should be doing landscaping, I'm kind of just like, okay, I've already been building for like several hours now. I kind of just want to try and get this done as quickly as possible. So I figured I wanted it to look nice on the outside and better than like I typically do as far as landscaping. So I just added a few like shrubs here and there. It was a little bit of a struggle because of the different platforms and everything, and then it just wasn't working out all that well. But I think the landscaping worked out pretty well. I will say it doesn't look exactly like that by the end of the build, because I did have some stuff getting deleted because I realized, obviously, when I was redoing the layout of this middle house, I ended up messing up some of the platforms and everything. And so it ended up deleting some of the stuff inside the house and also some of the landscaping. So I had to fix that after I finished kind of redoing the inside and everything. But like I said, this house has a little bit of a blue tone, but then it still has like a bit of darkness to it. I don't know if I love the backsplash that I chose for that, but I wanted it to have a backsplash, and the other two kitchens and the other two houses don't have any backsplashes in it because I just didn't like the way the backsplashes were looking with the houses. I don't know what it was, because normally I don't have as hard of a time picking out a tile that like matches with the rest of the kitchen and everything, but I struggled for some reason with that one. I don't know why. But I kind of was going for something simple in the living room because, again, still I feel like it wasn't perfect because I still like feel like it's very squishy, but then at the same time, even though I don't like or love how squishy it is and tight the space is, I think it is realistic. But then, like, I look at the house on the left and I feel like that is a little bit empty. So I think it's fine that it's a little squishy because it just, I think, makes it feel a little bit cozier and whatnot. I feel like I definitely had the most problems with the middle house just because I ended up changing the whole layout of the house afterwards, and so it kind of messed some things up. And I couldn't really I like the way the original layout of the rest of the house is, except for the bottom floor, with how I had it originally with the stairs being in the middle, but it just wasn't making sense for the downstairs. So I don't love how the ladder is kind of in the middle of the kids' room. But, you know, it's just one of those things. I'd rather have it like that than not have a nice looking living room. So, you know, you win some, you lose some, and I just dealt with it. But for the rest of the build, I've pretty much finished doing most of the furniture, and I'm just going back and like making it have a little bit more direct decorations, and, you know, making each home a little bit more homey and whatnot, adding bits and pieces to it. I try to add in a couple of activities for each house to have, and I tried to make sure each activities were like different, and so they weren't like the same. So I added in the little knitting in one of the houses, and then like one of the houses has a chess table, and another house, honestly, in the right house, I don't really think I did add in much as far as activity, except for there is a computer there. But I think that's fine now that I think about it. But, you know, they can pick up other hobbies, because that's another thing, is I still, like, I was trying not to add in too many extra packs. So I didn't want there to be too many things that were like functional things added into the game that were from like a bunch of different packs. So I think the only thing that I added that like is from a different pack as far as activities is the knitting. So I tried to keep it, low key when it came to that kind of stuff. And I love, like, every time that I look at the bottom floor of that left house, again, it's like one of my favorites. I just think it looks really nice, and like the colors and everything went really well together. Even though, like I said, I'm not used to having to do like darker colors and whatnot. But it's a little crazy because like I was just going back and forth random and just doing a bunch of random stuff and adding in random bits and pieces just to fill in some of the spaces that I felt like were a little empty. So I'm just going back and forth, and like anytime I find something random that I feel like would fit another house, I just like would run over to the other house and add in like that stuff and whatnot to it. I did add in like a little like tea, coffee kind of area in that left home, the warm colored tone home. Um, just to give it a little something extra because I felt like there were not that many pieces here. And in this kitchen on the left, I did eventually add in the cabinets because I just felt like that house again just looked and felt really bare, and I just felt like I needed to add in something to it to make it look and feel a little bit more homey and whatnot, because I felt like the other two houses I was able to add in a good bit of clutter bits and pieces to make them feel and look and like somebody actually lives in those houses. But this house, just, I really struggled with making it look very homey. But then at the same time, I feel like that's the vibes as well, is like they're a little bit more minimalistic, so they don't want to have all that clutter and bits and pieces all over the house. So, it's just what it is. And I will say I struggled a little bit with adding in these cabinets just because I didn't have the countertops right against the wall because I ended up using an end countertop on that side, and so I had to struggle with like alt placing the upper cabinets just to make sure it like lined up decently at least together. But I tried my best to just go around and make sure like I changed all of the lights, added in like better suited wallpapers and whatnot to all of the different rooms and everything. So I think that I succeeded. I don't know if I ended up filming it, but I did add in a few, like some chairs on that little back patio because I did kind of forget about that towards the end there. And I did try to make the house on the end lighter. I honestly don't remember if I kept it that lighter toned color or not because I was going back and forth a lot with it. So I don't remember if I kept it that way or not because, okay, it looks like I am doing something with it, but it's so bad. I literally just finished doing this build just yesterday, and I don't remember anything because my memory's that terrible. But okay, it looks like I did go back to like the brown color, because I wanted it to have a slightly different look to the other houses, but I wanted it to also like kind of match the interior. But I just was going back and forth with that one, so I struggled a lot with that and deciding what kind of colors and stuff to go with it. But I think in the end, it still ended up looking decent. I'm obviously still going back and forth with it. Honestly, we'll see together what I end up deciding in the end. I think I may go back to the original. Okay. Okay, no, okay. It does look like I kept it in its lighter color, so didn't even know. And then I just went and added in the different like sections for the different houses and everything. And that is the end of this build. So I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys with the next one. Bye!